Guys, we begin with President Trump's plan for a Golden Dome, a nationwide missile defense system to protect against the threat of foreign missile attacks. Now, Trump claims that the state-of-the-art $175 billion project will be able to detect and intercept hypersonic, ballistic, and advanced cruise missiles to keep Americans safe. Watch.
In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years.
Foreign adversaries like Russia, China, North Korea are all condemning Trump's Golden Dome as a so-called threat to global stability. But those reactions haven't deterred President Trump one bit. He says it's a landmark step to protect the American homeland, and he's willing to expand that protection to Canada for free. Quote, I told Canada, which very much wants to be part of our fabulous Golden Dome system, that it will cost $61 billion if they remain a separate but unequal nation, but will cost $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. And they are considering the offer. Brian Kilmeade, what do you think about that?
Well, I think, number one, I think he's still having fun. But I think that they are moving on another front, on the trade front, the Canadian front, on a rapid pace. They want to be one of the next ones to do a trade deal with us. So I think they're putting aside the tension and the jabbing. I do think we need Canada to do this. We're in NORAD with Canada. That is a joint investigation. I was in the Cheyenne Mountain doing going through NORAD for a Fox Nation special we're doing. So I'm in the mountain with NORAD, and the Canadians are full of, half of it is populated with Canadians. So to have a Golden Dome, you need Canada, and we would use the $61 billion. I'd rather have the $61 billion to help us towards paying the $175 billion. And I love that our adversaries hate it. I love that North Korea, China, and Russia hate it, because that means it's going to be effective. It's going to make them spend and innovate, and they can't. Nobody does it better than us.
Right, Ainsley, isn't that a good sign that our adversaries...
Of course it is. Of course it is. We don't care. We want to make them upset. They don't want it because they want the option to be able to nuke us, right? So this Golden Dome, remember when Reagan mentioned this and they called it Star Wars? They mocked him. Well, then Israel gets the Iron Dome. It saves thousands of lives. It was one of his greatest legacies. This could be one of Donald Trump's greatest legacies, because long after we're all gone, this is going to protect our children and our grandchildren. And Donald Trump says he can have it up and running in 3 years. He said they have the capability to send over a nuclear weapon, and it can travel 6,000 miles in a matter of 1 hour. So they could nuke us. We need to do something. Pete Hegseth said this could take out their ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones.
And Kayleigh, some of the media at the time questioned, well, President Trump, doesn't this potentially escalate things? But the reality is that it's a deterrent, and to Ainsley's point, ensures the safety of Americans so that we have peace through strength through our current president, but for lifetimes to come, we are protected from potential future threats, too.
Yes, some people worry about an arms race, especially as some of the ballistic treaties have expired. But yes, this is creative thinking. I love this idea. Here's the challenge, getting the funding. In the new Big Beautiful Bill, there's a $25 billion down payment, but the CBO estimates this will cost $831 billion over 2 years. So you got a little down payment there, and you've got to get guys like Rick Scott on board, who said he's not there yet, Rand Paul, these deficit hawks, Ron Johnson. I think we get there because President Trump has enormous political capital. I just saw the right direction numbers, 50%. It's not been there, I mean, pretty much ever. I can't remember the last time it was there. I think Trump gets the down payment on this. But here's what worries me. It protects only against, according to the Wall Street Journal, an expert they interviewed, against 85% of missiles that come in. Well, that's better than zero, right? But 85%, we've got to think about the other 15%. And the eerie statement I saw in the Wall Street Journal, this speaks to the new era we live in. Trump's Golden Dome plan implicitly recognizes that the arms control era has passed. Mutually assured destruction is no longer a sufficient deterrent to nuclear war. We're in a very scary era, and I'm glad we have a president with the foresight to think about the new era of defense we are in, because this is a big step forward.
Well, then quick follow-up, Kayleigh. actually for you then. Given that, why are these deficit hawks? You would think they would weigh the existential crisis and threat a little bit higher because we know that we can get the money from somewhere. So is there any concept that they approve?
I think they ultimately will. All of these guys are great conservatives that I named, fantastic members of the Senate who care very much about defense. I think they're going to use this to try to get further cuts because you have Rick Scott who said, I want a balanced budget in 10 years. That's a noble cause because that's a national security threat too. I think they ultimately make the bill better and get on board.
It's also a baseline Republican point.
Yeah.
Of smaller government and less spending. I think that's absolutely on point right there, what you just said about the spending. It's all an ongoing big negotiation on Capitol Hill. I will say this, President Trump and his team are gaming out artificial intelligence used in battle. And we have not, to this day that we know of, seen nuclear devices weaponized by AI or guided by AI. You give us a few years, and I mean, you've seen Sam Altman and others say it could be fewer than 10, could be fewer than 5 on certain systems of artificial intelligence. So I think you do have to be prepared for a system that can intercept in different ways. I mean, we saw a little bit of failure when Iran opened up and unleashed on Israel last year. Not everything got taken down. There were some things that were, porous about that. It did remarkably, but imagine if that had some AI guidance. And so we are working now to get ready for a future, I would say. The other thing is, of course, our adversaries are going to say that this puts us on the offensive. They haven't come up with any proof of that, but they say, oh, America's going to be hitting other people. Well, what are they going to say? They want to hit us. As everybody on the couch has made clear, we have to make sure that no matter what their systems grow to be, we can handle it.
Yeah, defensive. It's a defensive operation, and I think it's great. I think it's also a tip of the spear as you hear about AI. So you're going to devise a plan. What can beat the Golden Dome? Fine. That's tough. And then how do you stop people that want to beat the Golden Dome? So it's going to be forcing artificial intelligence to fight artificial intelligence. Yeah. And we're going to be sitting back, hoping to program, and hopefully we have the best concept.
Well, I'd rather be in that seat than, as Kayleigh just pointed out, then you don't have anything up there fighting off the stuff.
No.
I've heard even people talk about if there is a World War III, it could be fought in the office. It could be fought in front of a computer using AI.
Yeah.
Or in space.
We have the Golden Dome, but someone will try to create the Diamond Dome. Yeah. I assure you of that.
I'd be a fan of that. I love diamonds.
Diamond, gold, I like them both.
You're a girl's best friend. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.